So I start looking at my responsibility. I commit myself in a different way. And then I share what my needs are and how my mate can commit. And then have the willingness, not the actual trust, but the willingness to trust when I see that there is a consistency.
Hello and welcome to the Stroke It podcast. I'm Jenny Townsend, your host. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited for you to be inspired to live your life fully, to take ownership of your time, your schedule, and your life, but most importantly, learn and grow and develop personally and professionally. Myself and others are going to share life lessons that we've learned through leadership, through heartache, through pain, through struggles, and we'll be sharing some success stories with you as well. Super eager for you to dive in, learn, and grow. And once again, just take ownership of your life today. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Jenny Townsend, your host. I am here with someone that's going to not only inspire you, but is going to give you hope, lots of guidance, and you are going to be so happy that you tuned into today's podcast. Dr. Foojan, I'll get that right, I promise, is here today, and she has a theory that she wants to share with all of you. We're going to be talking about yourself, your family, and business. So if you are a leader, you're going to want to definitely listen to the end of this. So we're going to end today's segment with talking about resolving conflict, which can be a really big struggle for a lot of us, whether that has to do with ourselves, our family members, friends, or our team members. So thank you so much for tuning in and joining me today. I'm so grateful to have you here with me.
It is so nice to be with you. Yes, my name is Foojan. I know it's hard.
So Foojan is an international speaker, author, and psychotherapist with a doctorate in clinical psychology and is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is going to be talking today about a variety of different topics with it. She has extensive experience in treating depression, anxiety, trauma, and domestic violence. She is recognized as a leading expert online and has published widely fields of psychology and human behavior articles. She also is the originator of awareness integration theory, which is the theory that she's going to be sharing with us today. So before we get into all of that and sharing all this wisdom that you have, can you please tell our listeners who you are, where do you live, what season of life are you in?
Oh, absolutely. I'm 63, going to 64. I'm in Southern California in the beautiful city of San Clemente, right beside the ocean. And my office is here, and I work online across the globe, everywhere everywhere in any country that you can imagine online. I'm married, and we have beautiful grandchildren, and yeah. So I'm in the season that everything that I ever have known, experienced, or the wisdom that I've created, I want to share with everyone, whether I'm training psychotherapists or coaches, or with my clients, or through podcasts, my own podcast, everybody else's podcast, and anyone that I come from. As I figure I got so many beautiful years ahead that are kind of counting now. And I want them to be fruitful. So I want to live a fulfilled life, but also offer what I've learned about how to create a fulfilled life to everyone.
That's the desire by so many people. It's like, I just want to feel fulfilled. And I feel like that is such a large statement and maybe not obtainable in some people's mind that they can actually get there. So I'm really excited for you to share this philosophy and encourage others to really follow their passion and to live that life that they so deserve as well. So tell us how you got into this work.
I got into this work because I wanted to work on myself. Immigrated when I was 12, alone. I was kind of like raising myself. I come from a divorced family, a lot of abuse, neglect. All of those were part of my past as I was growing up. And I was depressed. I was anxious. The trauma, post-traumatic stress, all of those were part of what I had gone through. And so as I decided, I'm just going to do what the society tells me. You have to have a good job. You can create a good business for yourself. And then, you get married, you buy your home, you put the white picket fence on, and there you go. And you should be fulfilled and happy. I made it all around age 28. I had my amazing floral business, half of the Beverly Hills, and doing, amazing work. I was married. I bought my first house, and then I was miserable. Okay, that didn't work. know, that the world told me if you just do these things, get educated, get a job, and even not a job, like even, American dream, have your own business as a woman who's entrepreneur and then get married. And it didn't work out that way. So that got me to go into growth, self progress and growth seminars. And then I went to psychotherapy to work on my marriage and then myself. And then a whole other world began to opening up for me, which is, oh, let me become aware of who I am and who is this and what messages I've gained and how I've kind of incorporated what did that, stories that I made up about myself and the world, that is not allowing me to be fulfilled. And I learned beautifully, Jenny, in how to survive the world. But when I survived it and I got to where I want, I didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to be with whatever I was creating. More, more, more. No, 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 not enough, not enough. All of that was part of the process of internal process that I had to really look into and accept who I was, accept the different parts of myself that are, when we're trying to survive, we kind of just put aside in order to survive and reclaim it and become whole. I think the wholeness that we get create with the awareness and healing that we create for ourselves, then I can say, what is it that I want and how I can be fulfilled? And parts of it, really, the fulfillment comes from accepting all parts of myself. And that's a process because we usually have complained about ourselves or, you know, the way we discipline ourselves is by punishing ourselves or criticizing ourselves. That seems to be the path to disciplining. But there are other ways of disciplining or bringing myself into guidance by excitement, by motivation, and so many others. So taking this path of how can I see, bring all of me together, all of them, light and dark, black and white as you and I are wearing, and the red, and bringing it all together. And from there, then seeing what are my best, natural best, what are the skills I have, what are the best part of me, the best way that I communicate, the best way I create things, and really cherish my best while I'm accepting and nurturing the other parts or giving myself skills in order to move from the parts that are vulnerable, but live my best. But I got to know what those are.
So I want to unpack so many things right now. And I watched a couple of your videos too, where one of your videos was like, with the phones, there's so much being thrown at you and you can choose what you actually take in. And I think this was the same with the thoughts. We have all of these thoughts and we can choose which thoughts that we hold on to and which ones we do not. So whether it's positive or negative, and really your focus was on that positive and speaking kindly to yourself and listening to those positive thoughts. And we're all so quick to think and focus on the negative. So, how would we, if we're wanting to get into this state of mind where you are right now, where we are self aware and we are thinking about the positive and we are grateful for all the things, and that really wants to be the focus, how do we go from that negative to that positive shift?
Well, our brain are set up so that it can protect us. So what we do is we take the information from outside world and we do an interpretation. We do our own perception of whatever information is coming. We'll take the negative because we want to protect ourselves, right? And want to go, okay, make sure I can survive. So I'm going to do this projection. What if, what if, what if, what if? So I can be prepared for everything that might happen. And then if something that I did was a mistake, I'm going to, kind of like discipline myself so I won't do that again. I will make sure that I won't do that again. So there's a system and this frontal cortex that because of protection learns how to do that. And obviously, if we've come from a culture that is more punitive or our parents were more punitive, we internalize it. We, introject whatever the outside world was within us in order to be able to raise ourselves internally also. So the awareness shows up where, okay, how did I come up with this? And when did I come up with this? There's a time in my life, and there's usually like series of memories that we could tap into that I made this up at that moment, right? So if my mother was leaving to go to a party and I made it up as I need you, I must be bad. That's why you're leaving me. I must be bad because you're leaving me. I must be worthless. That's why you're leaving me. It's something I made up. at that moment because my mother wanted to leave and she was frustrated. And the face I saw for her was like, sleep already because I need to go. I had no idea what that was. And I made it up as, oh, she doesn't want me. I must be unwanted, right? I made that up for myself. And then I take it and go into school. And then my friend who says, I don't want to be your friend right now. You gave my secret away. I don't want to be your friend right now. And I'm like, see, I don't, so I've taken in one belief that I created for myself and I go into different versions, right? All of us who got crushes, in intimate relationships early on in high school, how many people get dumped? We all, thank you. We all did, right? But then it's like, see, in the area of intimate relationship, nobody wants me. I'm unwanted. So you can see the same thing as you go move on along the life, that when there's a negativity that happens, I attach this to the belief that I created for myself. What do we call it? Like self-fulfilling prophecy. I'll just start looking and see, this is what it is. So part of our unfulfillment is because of some of these beliefs we create about ourselves or the world. Like I had this thing of nobody, because I was abused, nobody's to be trusted. You cannot trust human being. But then at one point I'm like, okay, I came here when I was 12 and a half. The only way that I could have survived was to trust other human being, which they helped me. They gave me resources. They did different things when I asked in order to do that. So you could see that we get caught into some beliefs that are holding us back. And we do that because assumably we want to protect ourselves. But as you open up and unpack these things and attach them to reality of like tangible reality of our life, and then we go back and check, okay, what memory was, and the awareness integration theory has a 6-phase model that will have the awareness, and then we'll go through the past, and is a way of going to the original memory and reclaiming who you are, reclaiming and shifting some of these core beliefs and dismantling the ones that don't work for you. And not only they don't work for you, they're not based on reality. I created something when I was 5 based on a very, small information. And now if I'm 63, guess what? I have all these years to check the reality base of that, the validity of those things. And then going back and healing that part and becoming whole. So those are the places that we can look as we become aware, the validity of the negativity. Because if there is something that I want to be better at, okay, then let's make it a goal, make it a tangible goal, learn the skills to do it. But if it's not something that I want or something that was forced upon me or think that no matter what I do, I'm never going to be enough, that's just not a valid reality-based thought. So
Yeah.
there's a way to challenge this, but the way, for example, some of theories challenge it is the thought shows up and then we battle with it. But with AIT, instead of battling with it, we go to the original time. What happened that I made this up? And then we heal that part and we look at our own strength, even as a child, as we're growing up. So we honor the vulnerabilities, but we move through life through our strengths.
So as you're talking about this, and I'm thinking about how as a child we may have this belief or we have this episode or we have something and then we hold on to it for so many years. And this is a really stupid example, but I just went through this with my father-in-law. And he was saying how he didn't like mangoes at the age of 80. And I was like, why don't you like mangoes? And he's like, oh, they used to just be rotten in our yard and we would step on them and they were so gross. And I was like, so you've never really ate them? Not since I was a kid. And I didn't like them. And I still don't like them. I literally had him try a piece of mango and he loved it. And now he's like, oh, I put mangoes on my ice cream the other night because he was giving me his neighbor's mangoes. And now he's not now because he loves them. And I'm thinking as you're explaining this, he had this belief from when he was a kid that he didn't like mangoes. And so for all these years, he's never enjoyed mangoes and has been missing out and now loves them. I just find this to be kind of aligned with what the story is and like this false belief and holding on to something without really understanding it or putting it past and moving on or being open to maybe enjoying it.
Exactly. And, like you're talking about experience, allowing yourself to experience something else. And many times we might not allow ourselves. Like what I said to you, like I made a decision, nobody's supposed to be trusted. And that yet I was actually having experience of having to trust people in order to survive. And these two had not come together. Like one part of me had held on to the belief system because I was abused that you can't. And then another part was trusting people in order to move forward. And it seems like those parts of me never met. And bringing those two together, which is, yes, they're all part of me. And yes,
Right.
at one age, I had this experience. At another age, I had this, but these are not separated experiences. Can I combine these experiences so that I can be the whole person? And
Right.
what we do is when we get overwhelmed as human beings, we separate these different parts in order to be able to have enough energy to move forward, right? Animals do that. We all, some animals play dead for a while in order just to survive and then they come back up, right? Or they run and they don't even kind of like experience their body because they're just running to go. But after the fear or the threat is gone, they'll reunite, like they'll shake, they'll do all of the stuff to come back into their present. For us as human beings, what we do in our brain is when we get overwhelmed, our body is overwhelmed with something that's happening, we separate at that moment. And if we don't know, if we don't have a role modeling of bringing us back, shaking it off, kind of reintegrating it, then these parts stay separate. And that's a lot of what the unfulfillment gets created because one part of you is moving along with something. Another part, which you kind of like, locked in the closet, is constantly knocking at the door and saying, "Me out of here, help me." And that's, for example, when I said I was moving, growing, gaining every goal that I said I wanted to. And the parts of me which were in the closet banging and saying, "We're not fulfilled here. We're still depressed because you didn't take care of me. I'm still anxious because I still think I shouldn't trust anybody." So when you bring those parts out and really get connected with all of you, now you're moving with, with a unified desires. We all have different desires inside of us, but there's a dialogue somehow inside, which is like, okay, let's go, let's get all collaborate inside before we do an action. Versus when you're separated, one parts of you does one action and the other ones come in and sabotage it.
Yes. And there's
Does
a
that make
constant,
sense?
yeah, and there's a battle, and it's like fight or flight goes into play versus like embracing it. So I want to just mention a couple things that you had submitted on your form because I feel like they're very, very powerful. And I want you to pick one or two to like expand on for our listeners as well. So when we talked about, like, taking care of ourselves and, stroking ourselves, some of the things that you had put in there, which I would love for you to expand on, would be speak to yourself like a friend, celebrate small wins, keep a you did it journal, track achievements, reframe mistakes as data, speak affirmations out loud, speak your strengths, talk to your inner child, give yourself a hug or a gentle touch, place your hand over your heart or hug yourself. I just repeated that. Mirror affirmation practice, growth based strokes, set goals that inspire you, ask, what do I need right now? I love all those things that you put out there. And I think that those are all really great tips and advice that all of our listeners could really maybe benefit from hearing. Can you pick one or two of those to expand on when we think about taking care of ourselves and really leaning into what really matters to where we can be happy and feel fulfilled?
When we look at the messages that come from our bodies, right? Like we have 60,000 thoughts that show up, and most of them are automatic, right? We have a default automatic thinking that shows up. It's been filled with everything that we've had, kind of like programmed ourselves as we move forward. You're going to have feelings, which are part of our system. So, an information comes in, the feelings start telling us a message, right? So, the feelings are messages. That's all. They're telling you, hello, check me out. They're like, these buttons or lights on your car. Check the tire, check this, check that. That's all they're saying. The feelings are telling you, I have a message for you. And your body is constantly giving you information because as information shows up for us, anybody's talking to us, the weather, whatever information is out there, it comes in and gets processed through our body and mind. So one of the things to do when I say take care of yourself is listen. Listen to your own thoughts. Listen to your emotions. Listen to your body. Your emotions happen in your body. So if there's sensations, if there's an intuitive concept, if there is a message that is coming for you, if there are thoughts that are happening for you, listen. So first is the awareness and being present and listen. After you listen, now do your due diligence of opening it up. What was real? What's reality? What's not? What's old? What's new? Where is it I want to go? And that's where you kind of get the information out for yourself. And then you say, what are my needs and where do I want to go? Right. So where is my need and where do I want to go? Because we're not only past oriented, but we're really pretty much of a future oriented species. What do I want? What is my intention in here? What do I want to create? Right. So for example, being this landing it, my husband comes in or my child comes in and, the information is they're coming in being upset, let's say, or I want them to do something they don't want to do. That's the information at that moment is coming, right? As it's coming, all of my stuff are getting triggered. So it's like, listen to them. What's happening? What's the trigger? And then look at what do I have control? What do I don't not have control? What is it that I want to create in this relationship right now, for example, with my husband or my child? What is my intention? Out of this conversation, what do I want to create? Now, what are my needs? And then bring all of this into an authentic conversation, which is positive. Move toward a positivity of what I want to create and what is it that we want to have, and is it realistic or not? And in that moment, there is an understanding and an action coming forward. And then there's a dialogue that happens. There's a reality that happens between you and others. But let me first find my reality before I can present my reality and then have this dance with another person's reality here. Does that make sense to you?
It totally makes sense. So, with that being said, because I feel like this is a great way to segue into your theory and to talk about those 6 phrases, can we go into there?
Yes. So the awareness integration is a combination of a lot of the theories, which are mind oriented, thought process, emotional, behavioral, and body and mind. So we bring them all together. So the phase 1, 2, 3 are really about awareness of who you are today in any relationship. Like you could look at in 31 areas of your life, right? You could look at your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your intimate relationship with your child, mother, father, sibling, work. Even in work, am I the boss? And my relationship with my customers or people who work with me. If I'm in the middle person, my coworkers, my bosses, and all of that. We live in a relationship based world. We do not live without a relationship. Even if you're not in a relationship, they stick you to 4 walls, you'll talk to yourself. You'll have a relationship with yourself, or you'll have a cockroach going and you'll create a pet's relationship with the cockroach that is going. Our identities live in relationships. So the first 3 phases are this awareness about our thoughts, emotions, behavior, and then the impact that this attitude creates, the positive and the negative. And with that, we could see what are the things that makes me grow? What type of thoughts, what type of emotions, what type of behaviors are creating the results and the impacts that I want? And which ones are not? Like when I do such and such, when I think such and such, then I screw up. I don't get the result that I want. I create I destroy relationships. So you want to first look and become responsible and accountable. Then phase 2 is about my projections, my assumptions. We all live on assumptions. That's what we have to do. That's part of our mechanism in order to keep us safe. But sometimes we think like our assumptions are real. No, but let me figure out what my assumptions are and how I operate under those assumptions and how those, impact me. And then the phase 3 is my relationship with myself. Regardless of my relationship with you, Jenny, I have a way that I think of myself right now, right? So doesn't matter if you tell me that you like my hair or not. If I don't like my hair, regardless of how many times you say, oh my God, your hair looks good, I'm like, it sucks. And if the other way, if you say, if I just think I'm beautiful right now and you're like, oh, Foojan, I've seen you with a better hair day. I'm like, no, this is the best, right? So we have a relationship with ourselves that kind of trumps everything else out there. So I want to know how do I treat myself? Am I kind to myself? Am I nurturing to myself? Am I punitive? Do I punish myself? What do I do to myself? So first is this awareness. And then you could see this. We could do this with my mate. We could do this with could look at all of this. Who am I when I'm a mother? Who am I when I'm a wife? Who am I when I'm a boss? Who am I and then you could look at this process. And then from here, we find our negative core beliefs. Am I enough? I'm not enough. I have a problem with who I am, or I'm bad, I'm wounded, whatever comes up for me that I created all of these negative beliefs. And then from a phase 4, we go back to the memory that we actually created this belief. We come back and look at the strength that we had even at that time. And we integrate ourselves, integrate all of these separate parts and come back. And then in phase 5, we come back and say, okay, now that I know my strengths, now that I go back and look at, oh, these are all the best and natural stuff, and I see where I want to be, who do I really intend to be? Like, who would be my best that I choose to live no matter what happens? And then so we create our own like intentional identity that this is who I intend to be. That doesn't mean our other parts won't keep showing up, but it means that I see you, I acknowledge you, I see what your needs are, and I'm going to recommit to be this person, right? So if I say to you, Jenny, I'm committing to be kind. It doesn't mean that during the day, there are not times that I don't get pissed off and I don't want to ignore people or say I don't want to have anything to do with you. Those parts of me will come up. Yes. And then I can look at them and see, okay, is this part a part that how do I want to handle this in a kind manner, right? Why? Because I said I want to be kind. And then I'll set my goals and then, learn the skills to create my goals and create a structure, phase 6, to create a structure where I have a society, I have groups, I have scheduled, I have stuff that helps me maintain my best and create my best consistently. So you have the present moment, you have the completion of the past, you have the vision of the future that calls you forward, and you keep coming back to the present moment because this is the only place you actually make decisions and act.
So coming back to the present moment can be really challenging. I know. The reason I say that is my husband and I went through hardship with our marriage, and I kept going back to that past, and I kept bringing it up. And my husband always says, "Focus on where we are today. Focus on who you are. Focus on who I am. Focus on our love that we have today." And that can be really, really challenging to just come back into the present. So for those that are having a hard time, maybe living in that present moment, what would be your advice for them to get them to that mindset to where they can be there?
There was a need, I'm assuming. There's a need that you had in your relationship with your husband that was not fulfilled. And there's a part that was negative where you're trying to create a guarantee for the future. And that's why you keep honing on it. You want some sort of a guarantee. So coming back into our communication, one, is it realistic that I can actually get a guarantee? Probably not. Two, if I wanted a guarantee and if the other person could share with me what are the ways that they would be committed to a behavior that would create safety for me or whatever that need was, whether the need was to know that I'm loved or I'm safe or whatever it was, having a dialogue to say, what can you offer me? Or these are what I need, and what can you offer me based on my needs that can bring some sort of safety or love or whatever it is that I need. And then based on that, then, the trust gets built again on systematic action in time. When there's a consistency in action in time, trust gets created. So it's more like that I ask myself, am I willing to trust because I have all of this other piece in this marriage that I want to stay, right? So what is my goal? And then who do I need to be in this marriage? And if that something did not work, what was my part in it, right? So I start looking at my responsibility. I commit myself in a different way. And then I share what my needs are and how my mate can commit. And then have the willingness, not the actual trust, but the willingness to trust when I see that there is a consistency in that behavior and commitment, and keep coming back to the present moment. When I go to the past, I can also ask myself, is this thought useful? Is there something I can do about what my needs are right now? And how can I communicate this again, my need, in the path of what we agreed upon? So you first work with yourself. What do I need? And then come back and take care of yourself by communicating your need. But part of that is also for me to do a reality check with myself. Is my need realistic or it's not? Because if it's not realistic, you're not going to get it.
Right. Are you looking to enhance your relationship with yourself? If so, get the Stroke It Guide. My book is available on Amazon and on my website. Not only is my book going to help you with your personal journey with yourself, but it's also going to help you with the relationships of other stakeholders in your life. For instance, your spouse or partner, your employer, your employees, your friends, or your family members. And of course, because the title, there is a chapter for your pleasure, which is the last one, in the bedroom. The book offers lots of great tools and resources. There's a lot of great downloads, and it features many of my podcast guests, and they have thousands of downloads and resources that are worth a lot of money. So you're going to want to get my book today. You can buy that on Amazon or on my website, and you can change and take ownership of your life today with one simple click.
Right. So can we talk a little bit about that communicating the need? Because I think when I think of parents, I think of spouses, I think of team members, I think of friends or family members. Like when I think of everyone has a need, but they don't always communicate that need for a variety of different reasons. So talk to us or encourage us, number one, to start communicating that need, and how do we go about it?
First, I want you to know, if you don't communicate it, they won't know. Nobody's a mind reader. They cannot figure it out for you. Two, you got to figure out what the need is. Is it realistic? First process is yours. But when you're communicating it, it's important to know that the way you're communicating it cannot be in a way that you're damning the other person, making them wrong. That's unnecessary. Because when you're making somebody wrong, they close their ears. They're going to go into protecting themselves. They're not going to be voluntarily wanting to collaborate with you when you're putting them down. So you could also say, the reason I'm with you, for example, in this marriage or, in this relationship as a parent or as a team member, we're together or as a boss or whatever, these are the goodness that I experience. These are the reasons I'm here and continuing to be in this relationship. So start with your gratitude about what is, because in that mode, not only you're expanding yourself, but they're allowing them to expand and create safety for both of you in this communication. Instead of starting with negativity. Well, you're not enough and you didn't do this and you didn't do that. You take yourself into the negativity and definitely their ears are closed because, they're already bad. So we start with the positive angles of looking at the positivity of why are we even here. And then we start looking at bringing the need. This is my need. This is what I like to have. These are the reasons why I need this. And I'm committed from my side to offer this behaviors or these things in order to fulfill my need, right? Like, what do you do when you go shopping? Oh, I need that beautiful blouse, and I'm willing to, how much is it? And I want it by this time. And I'm willing to pay this much for it, right? So there's a part of me that's also willing to pay because of my need. This is how I want to commit myself in this relationship, and this is what I'm offering. And can you tell me, hearing my need, what can you offer me based on this need? And let them tell you what part of this they're available or they can or whatever it is. And then you can make a choice whether it's enough or not or negotiate. That's when negotiation actually starts with, okay, let me tell you what's on the table, them telling you what's on the table. And now we can negotiate. Sometimes you just say it and like, absolutely. And be clear. Like if I say, I want a lot of attention from you, that might be vague to them. You know what type of attention you want. That might be vague. So please figure out how you like those attention to be given to you. And then state it. The way that I receive attention well are in these ways. Like if you come home and you acknowledge me and kiss me. If you, once in a while through the day, as you think of me, text me and say such and such. These are the ways that really, really fulfill me. Then the person might say, yes, thank you, but I've always been giving you. Can you tell me how you have been giving me attention, which I wasn't aware of, so that I can also honor those? Yeah. So then it's the dialogue goes back and forth in this kind of safe and positive way that you deserve to say what your needs are. And the other person also deserves to negotiate to see how they can offer it to you.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the love languages. How do you receive those messages? And I incorporate a lot of those into a lot of my podcasts talking about the love languages. And we do the love languages in the workspace. Like, how do you receive praise? Do you want it, on Slack where everyone sees it? Do you want it at a staff meeting? Or do you want a simple email as well? Do you want a lot of attention? Do you not want a lot of attention? And things like that. Because that works in the workplace and then at home as well. Like, you know, part of the reason I started with this is I didn't know the love languages prior to getting married, and my husband and I didn't discover our love languages till after our whole marriage fell apart. And, how he was receiving love and how I received love were very different. We grew up in different households. Like his family was very nurturing, personal touch, words of affirmations, all that stuff. For me, my parents, like, love for us was there was food on the table and a roof over your head. There wasn't a lot of the words that we love you and things like that. So
Yeah.
merging those two different things. So we just receive praise and love very differently. And I've had to learn that with managing a team of people as well.
And you talked about at the beginning of our dialogue about conflict resolution. I remember first when I met my husband that anytime that if I didn't like something and I wanted very nicely, very positively, all of those I did. But then the minute there was something, there was a criticism, he would fold. He no longer wanted to talk to me and he would just retreat. And at one point I said, with the way that it is, I'm not allowing myself to say anything that I don't like because it seems like I'm hurting you. And that's my perception. It seems like I'm hurting you and I don't want to hurt you. But I cannot go on with not also sharing some of the things that I'm hoping we can change. So you tell me how you would be willing to hear a criticism from me or something that I need to change because I've tried all of these ways and the response that I perceive as your body language or your behavior is that you take it very hard and then you kind of like remove yourself from me. So, if I shut up and don't say anything, relationship won't go forward. Um, if I say it the way any of these ways that I've said it, doesn't work for you, I'm kind of at a loss. Can you share with me what are the best ways that you could hear this with a lot of love, but still something doesn't work for me that needs to change? And that changed his way of looking at even what he was doing. It's like, oh, I didn't even realize. And yes, these are the ways that I took it. I said, okay, well, then if I say something, can you check with me and say, I heard this, did I get it right? Or can you elaborate on that so that I can say? So there was this dialogue about how to even between the two of us, how the dialogue had to go so that we could even hear each other and make it safe. So it's sometimes detailing these things and taking the time to honor ourselves and the other person and clarification of these things are the first work because then we can create a safe structure where from there on, year after year, every day something happens anyway, we just, we're not always alike that we could follow the structure that we created together and make it safe.
Yeah, 100%. So when it comes to the resolving conflict, because I definitely want to get into that before we close up, because I think it's so important. And this more is along the lines of it could be focused on, obviously relationships and friends and family or the resolution, the conflict with yourself, I mean, but also with team members as well. So you have an amazing program and a strategy for resolving conflict. So can you kind of give us some tidbits and tips or guide us through like some really great things that we can start working on today when it comes to resolving conflict?
Sure. One of the things to know is that the conflict starts inside of me, no matter what. People can be who they are, but if I get triggered by it, there's something about me that's getting triggered there. So it's important for me to, again, come back first. It starts with me. Why am I upset about this? What doesn't work for me? What is it that, how should it be for it to work before I can go and have a conversation with someone else? And then in there, if everybody has a role, right? So for example, in a mateship, our roles are equal. In a parentship, the role of a parent is holds some above and beyond responsibilities or has a responsibility of legal responsibility, financial responsibility, personal responsibility. So there are different ones. And when you go to a work and a team, each person in the team and where they are, whether they're in management, C-level, or an employee, they all have some sort of a responsibility that comes with the job that they have and the role that they have. So the first part is I can look at with the model AIT that we're also taking into organizations. First, let me start looking at myself. How am I responsible for the conflict that got created? Is there anywhere that I didn't say what I needed to say? Is there any way I didn't clarify? Is there any way I didn't explain enough? Is there any way that I was supposed to do this project and I didn't. What part of this am I responsible for? And what am I responsible for emotions that I brought, right? We don't leave ourselves at the door. I'm still the same person who walked into the door this morning to go to work, which I was with my mate or, with my children. So what part of this might be that I'm bringing an issue that I had from personal life into work? What kind of issue could be that this person who's in front of me reminds me of my mother and the way my mother scolded me and looked at me, and that triggered something in me that is like brought all my rebellious side out, right? So when I start with my responsibility and accountability around this, then I have that clear. Now I go back into the same conversation. Out of this conflict, what are the best ways that I intend to come out of this? What is the result that I like to create out of this conflict? Not only the situation itself, but also my relationship with the person who I'm having a conflict with, right? And I always say, like, I have a lot of attorney clients, which are amazing at debating in court, or salespeople who, have these manipulative way of how to create one sale. And it's like, okay, you got skills that way in your profession, but the same thing doesn't work in your marriage, which at the end of the night, you want to be able to kiss them and become intimate, or your child because you want to be a role model. So what is the type of relationship that I want to have with the other person after the resolution of this? So that makes a difference in how I want to resolve this deal, right?
Right.
What is the best way that I can see? And then bring that into the communication that is there and be open to the other person also matters in this. So it's not like you create this and you go, now you land it. No, you create this because you want to have the clarity. But landing it now becomes the negotiation where you have to also open for them to share these things. Now that we have all the information, let's look at what's similar. We'll take all the similarities. Now let's look at what's different and complementary. Can we handle those and negotiate with each other? Are there things that are absolutely opposing and we actually need to negotiate in here? Sometimes we have to gift it. On this negotiation, I'm going to let go of this and give it to you as a gift. And the reason I'm saying it, hold it as a context of a gift, is because you won't hold resentment. Because when we give somebody a gift, we do it out of love.
Right. 100%. And giving is so important too. Like, not always just taking all of it, like giving and giving yourself, giving your time, and giving compliments.
Yes.
And giving compliments when you think them, not, because I feel like there's so many times where it's like we'll walk down the street by a woman and we're like, gosh, she looks great. I love that dress. And we won't say anything. So, give those compliments and give yourself to others, because it really does make an impact. And most importantly, give yourself those compliments and talk really kindly to yourself. I love like how we started it and like all of the philosophy that you have and the whole theory too. So, as we wrap up today, I would love for you to give our listeners one thing that they can implement or change or do starting either today or tomorrow.
The first thing that happened for me, and I'm sharing it with everybody, is I needed to take responsibility for my own happiness and not wait for others to give it to me. That no matter what happened out there, it was me who I had to take care of my own mood, my own mood. I had a choice about what thoughts I wanted to keep, what emotions I wanted to keep, how I wanted to handle life. So if everybody out there starts taking responsibility for that, then they'll find the skills of how to um, make the best of relationships in the relationships that they have and keep maneuvering and growth. And some of this might be that at one point I'm growing enough to say, I no longer want to have this relationship. I no longer want to be in this job. And that's part of your growth. But it's not happening out of reaction. It's happening because you've done complete, got videos, got pictures, and you're complete with that phase of life and smoothly moving on to the next without breaking bridges. So you're
Right.
moving from one phase of your life to another. So I would say the first element is I'm responsible for me. Who am I? What is it I want? How can I create? And then co-create it with the world. But I got to know what I want and then start dancing with the world around me on all relationships to keep co-creating those amazing relationships that are collaborative with each other and move and flow with each other. And anytime I get stuck, I start cleaning myself first, bringing myself into the flow, and then go in and communicate authentically, positively with love to create the flow in my relationship with others.
It's so beautifully said. I can't wait to send that little bit to a couple people I know because I think you're so spot on. And, as a leader, I want everyone to be happy and I want to encourage them and I want them to take ownership of it. But at the end of the day, they are responsible for their own happiness and their fulfillment. And I'm responsible for my own. I can't make people be happy as much as I wish I could do that as a leader, but I cannot. So thank you for sharing that. That was absolutely beautiful. So if our listeners want to connect with you, how do they do so?
My website, FoojanZeine.com. You can connect with me. If you like to work, we've done a lot of research and people who are using the Foojan app are getting like 75% more satisfaction in each area of life as they're going through this journey. So it's Foojan app. You can have it in App Store or Google, Android. And you go through the whole 6 phase. It has meditation. It has go with taking you as like a guided journaling. And then we also added Mira, which is the AI chatbot, which is only trained in our model and will give you skills. So I was like, 3:00 in the morning, I'm like, okay, I just had a fight with my husband. What do I do? This is the fight. And then Mira will give you, based on the model, think about this and look at this and observe this, but also 8 skills of, can you do, attempt to do this way and go check it out and see and come back. So it'll actually give you skills. And you can go there and Foojan app or go to Foojan.com to know more about the app.
That's awesome. And I definitely highly recommend you check out her website. I was on there today and there is a lot of great value on there too. And definitely check out the app. She's got a great following too on your YouTube channel. There's some great videos and content and all the socials. We'll have all that listed in the show notes of the podcast. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. If you know 5 people that could benefit from today's episode, please consider texting this link to those individuals. Also, if you loved what you heard today, give us a review or like us on all of our socials. Thank you so much for your time today and your wisdom. I really, really appreciate it. And I wish you a beautiful day.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for tuning into the Stroke It podcast. I hope you were inspired. I hope you're willing and ready to take some action. I want to encourage you to consider 5 people that could benefit from today's podcast. Super simple to share this episode. You never know who could benefit from hearing this podcast and how you could inspire them to create the change in the life that they're wanting. Cheers, and thank you so much for tuning in. Also, consider giving a review.